Today's guest is photographer David Loftus. From what I've gathered, he can photograph almost anything, but he's probably best known for his food photography and has photographed almost all of Jamie Oliver's bestsellers. He has also published a memoir, The Diary of a Lone Twin, after losing his identical twin brother when he was aged 24. He captures lovely, relaxed, and very fuss-free photos, which I'm sure is partly due to the fact that he instills such a warm environment. David, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I'm delighted that you're here. I have to admit, I was slightly, which is what I was about to say, slightly starstruck when we first met and you appeared.
Really?
Yeah, because I was just sort of doing this pop-up at the Pear Tree Cafe and suddenly there was a man who appeared and he was smiling at me and kind of gesturing to slightly come over. And I said to the boy next to me, I think that's, and he went, that's David Loftus. I was like, oh my God. He was like, you better go and say hello.
I'm always very nervous about saying hello to anyone. And it's funny, actually, I did it last week and I had the opposite to what the experience that I had with you. And of course, I saw you in the kitchen. I knew you were going to be cooking there. And it is my local dog walk cafe. So walking in, and of course, because you've said you've had a relationship with someone on social media, it doesn't necessarily mean it's them always replying or that they look at actually what you look like. They might just be looking at your work.
Yeah.
So you never know whether someone's going to say, who's that lunatic waving at me? Or they're going to say, oh, I'd love to talk to you. And you just have no idea. And it's weird. The last week or so, I've gone through a really tough period of having gone up to someone in a very similar manner, and it was so bad, the experience.
Really? Why?
Where I told them I admired what they did,
which is always a lovely thing to be told.
And I thought that I'd been communicating with them on Instagram over the years, really, and it seems, I think it was a spot in their office or something, or business partner or something, and I was really just explaining my admiration for their work and stuff like that. And I have never seen someone so like they'd literally smelt a fart in the room. And he looked at me like I was a child.
Really?
And he's quite a bit younger than me. And I just don't... luckily I had my dog. I was holding my dog at the time.
You felt protected.
And it was at a restaurant launch, so I had this sort of comfort blanket, because I can't think of the last time I felt so foolish. So actually waving at you through the kitchen pass, it could have had the same effect.
Definitely.
But the sad thing is, how wonderful it was to say hello to you and then eat your food. And obviously, I wanted to say how much I admired your work, and I was able to. And you reacted the way a normal, lovely person would react. Whereas doing it last week was totally the opposite. And the sad thing is, of course, I'll probably never do it
then
again.
Then it puts you off from doing it. Do you really think? Do you not have enough good experiences from having done it?
No. And a girl ran up to me day before yesterday. I was shooting in Bicester Village, of all places, and I needed the Wi-Fi, and I ran up the stairs to use their office Wi-Fi. And a lady was running up the stairs while I was running down the stairs, and she went, oh my God, it's David Loftus. Oh. And it was so sweet, and it was so lovely. And I was almost in tears, because I thought, this is what I can't do that anymore to another person. I can't, I suffer very bad PTSD, and anything that can knock you for 6.
Yeah.
And it can unravel a year's worth of positivity and work.
Completely.
And this is what this did.
That's so
the worst thing is the chap in particular was, as I said, I admire him greatly, and he makes little films and I admire them greatly. But also he was talking to the wife of a friend, the restaurateur, and she had the same reaction as, why are you disturbing us? And it was so mortifying. I can't remember the last time I wanted to shrink up into a hole and just be buried alive and hide.
Do you know what's so sad
bad
about that is that you've just said that you've experienced it then on the other side, and actually for you it must be a lovely thing when someone young and enthusiastic comes up to you and says, I love your work.
Yeah.
And you would hope that would then remind you enough that that one poor incident, is a rare occurrence.
I hope so.
Actually, well, you never know.
It's like climbing another mountain.
And life's a bit like that. I think anytime you've always done something and then you slightly change your path and then you have a different outcome.
I know. I always think of myself as sort of on a sort of precipice, and there's a steep slope at either side, and I'm just meandering along the top of it.
And you could go either
I
way.
could slip either way
Yeah,
at any point.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of strength. Well, I thought we could just start a bit with kind of how it all started for you in your career. I mean, I've heard a lovely story of your dad giving you a camera at Christmas.
He did. It was an Olympus trip, which I don't know if you've seen them, but they're these really cool retro. And for a long time, it was just carrying it around and feeling cool.
With it.
Yes. And I was a kind of young punk, and he was not really that impressed with my musical taste.
Right.
And my sort of wanting to be a drummer in a punk band.
Okay, which is what you envisaged for yourself.
Yeah, it was really.
I can see it.
I mean, that and wanting to be a helicopter pilot.
Right, yeah.
But he was more worried about the young punk musician. And my twin brother at the time was equally artistic, and so both of us were obsessed with painting and drawing and all those sort of things, and we had very, very similar tastes in most things. But he had far more hobbies, and his hobbies were much more sensible and much more in tune with a sort of middle class upbringing. Like
Fine.
he, for example, where I was reading Jack Kerouac and Albert Camus, he was reading Tolkien and Michael Moorcock and drawing fantasy figures. And whereas I was listening to punk music, he was painting. He had this obsession with painting Napoleonic little soldiers.
Oh.
So, in this pre-digital age, it was all about getting little soldiers and painting them with Humbrol paints and things. So he had many more hobbies than me. He liked going to concerts and classical music and stuff, whereas of course I just wanted to go and see the Buzzcocks.
Yeah.
So he gave me the camera in a way to try and give me an outlet that was safer and, more in tune with potential career and all those sort of things. And we came from a very academic family. So my father was a stockbroker, and he was a racing driver as well. But my mother was a very eminent doctor at the time, and all family members were either doctors or lawyers or worked in the city.
The book.
Yeah, whereas John and I, because we were identical twins, we always assumed we'd actually shared a brain. We grew up thinking, why are they all so clever? And we're just sort of muddling through.
Yeah.
So they were slightly worried that we weren't going to be doctors or professors or stockbrokers, and certainly not anything to do with mathematics. So actually giving us this sort of little leg up, which was actually quite rare in hindsight, that they were giving us an artistic leg up.
Yeah, very rare, I think, as well, because that's something that people are.
I mean, they even sent us to a school which had a foundation course, which I think was one of two in the country at the time. So it had a foundation course as part of the sixth form.
Okay.
Which was extraordinary, really. So we actually managed to do a year of our university degree whilst doing our A-levels.
Oh, really?
So we actually came into art college at a much later stage, which was, again, very forward-thinking.
And did you were at separate colleges, weren't you?
Yeah, it was a tricky one. It was the first time that we'd separated. We did the 2-year foundation together, and he decided to go to Kingston to do graphic design, and I decided to go to Chelsea School of Art to do a much artier, more illustrative kind of design work. Yeah. And it was hard. I actually applied in the second year at Chelsea to go back to change to Kingston because I couldn't bear the separation.
Wow.
He was actually coping with it a lot better, but he was slightly older than me. He was 10 minutes older than me, so he obviously...
That's probably why.
And it meant a big deal to him, so he was able to say, look, little brother, you don't need to do that.
And are you glad that you didn't then go? And
no, because, having lost him, it would have been an extra year
with him
by his side. I mean, we both still lived at home, so we weren't really separate for that long. But he seemed to be flourishing more in a sort of design way than I was, whereas I was getting a bit more lost.
And am I right in saying that a teacher at school told you that you were never going to make it or something, which made you then hide out in the photography room? Yeah,
Susan Einzig, who was this rather terrifying German lady who's head of design at the time, she said, darling, you remind me very much of my daughter. She always wanted to be something she never would be.
I can't believe she would even say that about her daughter, let alone to you.
I mean, it's horrendous, really, isn't it?
Do you feel like that has really had an impact on you?
Well,
your whole career?
Here I am at 61, and
done very well.
I still quote it, which is rather scary. But you know, like you remember. Sadly, you remember those things, and
Remember
every
the
now and
negative
then,
things.
you beat yourself up with them.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it's one of my best friends once turned around and said something truly awful to me and dumped me as a friend. And this was in my adulthood; it wasn't in my childhood. And he's quite a well-known writer, and he once sat me down, and I was worried that I hadn't been invited to a dinner, and several mutual friends had been invited.
Yeah, a common anxiety.
Yeah, this is a friend who we'd been on holiday with and we'd shared so much with, and family time. I think my ex-wife had actually asked him to be a godfather to my eldest child. And anyway, my eldest child was only 1 or so at the time, Paros, and he'd been very poorly in hospital. And I was aware that that little group hadn't really called to make sure everything was okay.
Okay.
And this writer, he's called William Miller. He's the son of Jonathan Miller, who's the great polymath. So I think he always thought he was rather cleverer than he was. He wanted to be as clever as his father. Okay. But William sat me down one day and he said to me, I said, well, you didn't invite us to anything, and, you know, you've sort of stopped. And he said, David, think of a group of friends like a bicycle wheel. And that wheel goes round and round, and it's all, you know, hunky-dory. Think of each individual friend as a spoke of that wheel. Very occasionally a spoke gets a little rusty, and sometimes it's easier to remove the spoke than change the wheel.
Oh my God. He said that to you?
Yeah. And I remember I was drinking a glass of wine at the time, and it flew out of my nose. I mean, I was literally spluttering. I was just like...
What a bold way to let someone down.
And of course, because it hadn't quite sunk in how bad that was, he repeated it.
Right, oh, great.
And, you know, I can think of maybe 1,000 times since that's gone over in my head.
Really?
And often at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Or, you know, when you can't sleep, when you know, and you suddenly think, you question so much about yourself. The damage that does.
I know. I mean, there's one thing, I was actually speaking about a group of friends the other day. It's so normal for your friendships to change as you grow up. You know, you have things that come into your life that become priorities. And I think that is not normalised as a thing as it is. But the way that happened, I can see how that then feels extra traumatic. And you're so right. That's all we do in life is we repeat the negative and the negative.
Yeah.
And no matter how strong or how much older or wiser you can be, like those things hurt because it's a strong sense of rejection.
Unbelievable. And it's still,
really
it still happens now if someone drops you from a book, or, you know, I'm very lucky I have some very long-standing clients, you know, people like Jamie and even the ones who I worked with, say, 15 years ago or 10 years ago, like, say, Rachel Koo, who's now doing really well in Australia, you know, she'll always come back to me, and it's so important. But some of the younger ones... Oh my God! You just dropped like a stone.
Really,
it's unbelievable, and the way they do it as well. And you always think, of course, that you always assume that younger people will have a more understanding, a greater understanding of mental health issues.
Yeah.
Or so, you know, they know about my problems, they know about my sensitivity or my neediness, or you always think they'll be okay. Absolutely not. My experience is you don't mention mental health.
Really?
With a certain type of young person, you know. And what I find is what they do is they'll ghost you. That's it. Ghosting is the way to do it. So, for example, you know, you'll have done 2 or 3 books with someone, and this has happened 2 or 3 times in the last year, and it's extraordinary. They will just suddenly ghost you, and you're. Of course, because you're the sensitive one, you're sending texts saying, are you okay? Can I do this for you? Can I do that for you? I haven't taken you out for dinner for a while. Would you like to go out for dinner? Nothing. Zip. And then you read on Instagram, just shooting my new book with so-and-so. And you just think, okay.
It is awful. We've just spoken about this, but this inability to communicate from a younger generation, because actually, I suppose, in particular with your work, you've probably watched it evolve so much from something that felt quite hands-on and, you know, in the way that you've dealt with camera to being very tech-led. And I think that has really gotten in the way of people's ability to communicate. And as a result, the easiest thing to do is just cop out.
Yeah.
There's no communication at all. And then it feels horrible.
It's hideous.
It is.
And it's like being a punch bag.
Yeah.
You know, it's just awful.
Do you think it sounds as if you're openly quite sensitive? Am I making that?
Oh, I'm so oversensitive.
Okay, great.
I had
I wasn't treading on eggshells saying that.
No, I had a very sweet conversation the other day with Jamie where he hadn't realised that there was a talking version of my book. And of course, bless him, he's chronically dyslexic and he hadn't read my book. And I'm absolutely fine with that. But I was quite surprised that he hadn't listened to the talking book, particularly as I do talk about him. And, you know, anyone's vanity, you think, would then come round and go, actually, I'd quite like to hear what David said about me. And he took me out into the garden the other day, into his garden. He was very quiet. I thought something's going on in his brain. And he said, I'm very aware that I didn't ask you anything about your twin for many, many years. And he said, I don't know whether it was because I didn't want to know the answers or I didn't know what to ask. You know, he'd never lost anyone.
Yeah.
You know, he has his parents and his siblings, and you know, and life is rosy. You know, life is very rosy. And it's only more recently that where his children are suffering a little more with mental health issues and dyslexia and things like that, that he's begun to understand the sort of wider, you know, reaches of mental health issues. Yeah. Because his own, you know, he's an up person.
Yeah,
you know,
he seems like
he gets knocked down badly, like losing the restaurants and stuff, and they hits him terribly. But he's an up person, and I think sometimes being around people who can be sad is very hard.
Yeah.
And I'm very aware that, you know, I'm hard to be around sometimes. I can be very sad, or I can be, you know, I can be very needy.
Have you been like that since? Is that, do you think, part of being a twin as well? Is that
I think it's part of being an identical twin. And I think it's definitely worse since John died.
Yeah. Were you always treated as a sort of a pair when you were younger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Except by our parents, weirdly.
Okay. Hence, I guess.
So not dressed the same and not, you know, and very much different haircuts and things like that. So most people could tell the difference because there was a style difference.
Right.
Particularly in our teens and our 20s.
Yeah.
You'd still get muddled up. I mean, what was heartbreaking for the next sort of 10 years after John died was I'll be walking down the King's Road and of course someone across the road would say, John, you know, and I'd go over and they go, you know, how was Kingston? And I sort of go, I'm sorry, I'm not John, I'm David, and John's died. And it was just 10 years later and they, you know, it was always, they couldn't bear it. But mostly people just would walk away and couldn't talk about it.
And was there, when you were young, did you want to be very much like him? Or was there kind of a slightly competitive nature? Or,
there was. I mean, I was envious of his artistic talent because he was a much
Not
better
that you
drawer
don't have any at all.
No, but you have no idea. He was on another level.
Wow.
His drawing was amazing. He was an amazing natural pianist.
Cool.
Which I couldn't understand because I think I'm slightly tone deaf. I can't quite work it out. But, I mean, you know, I love music and, you know, I was at a concert last night and I love listening to music, but I'm bad at playing music.
Yeah.
Whereas he was naturally talented. And I couldn't understand why he had that being identical.
Yeah.
And I didn't. And again, it was that thing of trying to find things that, you know, I might be better at.
That you might have, that he might not.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
And actually, photography actually helped because he definitely was a sort of more of a snapper, whereas I was more considered.
Okay.
Although that might have made him naturally more talented, I don't know.
And did that always, I mean, there's so many ways I could go with this, and I want to come back to John, but in terms of your career, did that always come quite naturally to you? Was there a point where you sort of realised, I might give this a bit of a go?
Yeah, but not till a long time after he died.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I was an illustrator so I left art college.
Age 20?
22-ish or something, and I became probably in the top 20 illustrators probably in Europe, I suppose. But
that is so cool.
Yeah, but with a style that I felt was a con.
Okay.
Basically, I became this like kind of Dadaist collage artist.
Yeah.
And it was really out of a fear of using colour.
Okay. Why were you scared of colour?
I don't really know. I was frightened of using colour, so all my illustrations were black and white.
That's interesting.
So I started collaging colour into my illustrations, and for some reason it took off. And then I started incorporating calligraphy and things like that into it, and no one else was doing anything like it. So it really took off to the point that, you know, it was pretty stratospheric, and I was winning awards and,
Wow.
you know, traveling to America and illustrating things. But I felt like a con. I just didn't.
It didn't sit well within you.
No, not at all.
You
And
feel like someone
I
was
even worked with
protecting you?
John. I mean, he was commissioning to design wine labels and all sorts, and it was amazing, really. It was, but all the time I was secretly thinking, I can't do this for the rest of my life.
Someone's going to catch me out.
Yeah, and
It's a horrible
feeling. And when Johnny died, I just thought, I just can't do this anymore. I can't. Also, I can't sit in a studio with a white piece of paper in front of me, waiting for the phone to ring.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and it was becoming more and more of a problem. Plus, digital was making what the art that I would make, you could almost make it digitally.
Okay.
Suddenly, and I thought, no, this is wrong. So I went back to my childhood hobby and said, I just turned around one day, a bit like my January the 1st thing, which I told you about.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about in a bit. I turned around on January the 1st and said, I'm going to be a photographer.
And that was it?
Yeah, my wife at the time, Debbie, said, I think that's the biggest mistake you'll ever make in your life.
Well, sorry, Debbie, it's gone quite well. And how old are you? Sorry, if you don't mind talking about it.
No, I don't mind. No, I'm
How
6.
old were you? No, not now. Tell me.
16.
How old are you? 16. I was going to say, how old are you when John passed?
24. So he died just after our 25th birthday.
Oh my God! Wow. And what happened?
We were opening presents at the time.
Really?
Yeah. So, it's still. It's still a tough one to say out loud, but we were playing cricket in Richmond Park, and he was with his design group, and they'd invited me and my new girlfriend at the time to come and play cricket with them and have a picnic and drink. And he collided with someone in the outfield while someone, you know, tonked a ball, and they whacked their heads. And we went home afterwards, and he had a terrible headache and lay down. And of course, identical twins, we always had headaches at the same time. Yeah. So we both went and lay down, but my headache got better, but his didn't. And 2 days later, my mother, who was, you know, a pretty eminent doctor at the time, said, I think there's a problem here. We need to... And she could tell the headache was continuing, and she watched him go up the garden path, I can remember, and it was a slight slope to his shoulders.
Okay.
And she said, I think he's damaged his brain, you know, in this collision. So he had a scan, and it was a tumour.
Did you have a horrible feeling in those 2 days?
Yes, I did. And actually I was scanned. They scanned me after John died, and I was fine. I mean, we have no cancer in our family at all. It's a freak of nature, sadly. So he had a tumour which they removed, and they removed successfully. But then he was being treated in the Royal Marsden, and a junior doctor gave him an overdose of a drug while we were opening our birthday presents in front of me. It was just the two of us opening presents. And he'd had an infection in the brain, and he was having an antibiotic, and the doctor walked up and gave him it was 99 times overdose. So it was supposed to be 1 part gentamicin to 99 parts saline, and he got it the wrong way around.
Oh my God.
And he fell into my arms and was terribly sick and apologizing, and I was screaming for help, tell you, screaming for help, and the nurses were running around. I managed to call my mother at her surgery, and she ran up from her surgery, and they realized something was wrong, but the doctor decided to try and cover up so he hid the ampoule and the vase, so it was left too long, and he went into a coma. And he came to 3 days later, and I had a conversation with him, but then he died the following day.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I witnessed it and was there for all of it.
And when you spoke to him in that moment, was he present?
Yeah, very. And
Wow.
I was able to say his goddaughter Cleo had just been born. So it was his first godchild, and I said, Cleo was born yesterday, and he said, oh, Godfather. So, yeah, and he remembered, but it's the brain does something quite often, I think, with people who go into comas. Sometimes the brain will try and fight back, and this is what was happening. The
Yeah.
brain was fighting back, but he very quickly went back into a coma.
Really?
He remembered the present I'd given him
Really?
on Halloween, and
Which shows how much he wanted to fight to say goodbye
yeah,
to you as
yeah.
well.
So he was in intensive care in the Atkinson Morley, but sadly, because the doctor covered it up, they couldn't work out what was actually happening in his brain. It was only when they tested the drug contents of his brain that they said, "Oh my God, there's a huge overdose in his brain."
How have you, as an identical twin and family member, been able to sort of live with that mistake? I mean,
Obviously, a medical family. They all lived with it. My son is
Yeah.
a doctor. My brother is a surgeon. My mother obviously was a doctor. She did retire afterwards because they treated her so badly,
Really?
and because of the cover up. And she was treated very badly by the General Medical Council, and the coroner, Paul Natman, was a bully, and she was treated appallingly, actually. And so she retired. So the community lost an extremely good doctor as well.
Yeah.
The doctor carried on
Practicing. Really?
Yeah. He's now a professor in Germany. He was fine.
And
The cover-up was it was appalling. I mean, the newspapers did a doorstep on him that was so bad at the time. Yeah. But I just had to. The worst thing for me was at the coroner's inquest. Yeah, I lost my best friend. I lost
your literal other half.
Yeah, people always say it's like losing a limb, but it's not actually. It's like losing your heart and your soul, really. It's the extraordinary feeling of emptiness. It's like
well, it is part of you.
Yeah, and no day since has been the same feeling. It's hard to describe. I tried to describe it. It's almost like someone's watching you. It's like you're on film or something. It's like you're trying to learn how to behave. I mean, when you think about it, I think I went away for the first time on a shoot, say 9 months after John died, and Condé Nast Travelers sent me to a thing called Greek Easter, and it was written by Louis de Bernier, who was one of my twins' favourite authors. So I thought, I have to do this. So I went off to Kefalonia to do this lovely shoot, and I travelled all day and all night and got to the hotel, checked myself in, sat in my room, so sat on my bed, and I realised that it was going to be the first night I'd spent on my own since I'd been conceived.
Really? You'd always been together? No way.
But either that or with
a girlfriend.
Girlfriend or best friend, but never alone.
And you how old? 25?
And actually, 25.
Wow.
25. And that was an extraordinary feeling, but also a feeling of complete loss. And I didn't know where to sit in the room, and I still have that. I mean, my wife occasionally will come into a room and she'll know immediately that there's something up, and I don't know where to sit. I don't know. Really? It almost feels like I'm being watched. It's hard to describe, really. But the heartache sometimes is like I've described it in my book actually a bit. There is a condition. A lot of people die of broken hearts, and they've worked out what it is. It's when you get that intense feeling of grief. It's like someone's punched you in the heart.
Yeah. And
they can actually see it on an X-ray. It's like a physical bruising of the heart.
Really.
And that's what it's like, really. It's like, and just every now and then that bruising erupts again, and you feel that punch. And
I mean, I think I can't relate to the same way. I've never lost someone. I've lost friends, but never someone on that level. And I feel like it never gets easier, but time gives you strength. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't. It does, and in a way, one thing I've discovered is you have to. So, for example, our birthday is Halloween, which is obviously the end of this month, and then he died. He eventually died on the 11th, so he survived 11 days in the coma. So that period for me is terrible.
Yeah.
And you think every year it's going to be fine. I'll be fine this year. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then I'm not. And, poor old Ange will have to literally pick me up. And some mornings she'll have to come in and I'll be in bed. I'll have gone back to bed and I'd have hidden in the corner of the bed. And she'll literally have to sort of say, gently, very gently, just, do you think, just get up and have a bath, I'll run a bath for you, and just get up. And what I've come to realise, I used to kick myself afterwards and think, David, why are you wasting time, just, snap out of it.
Yeah.
And what I've realised now is I just have to let it roll.
Yeah, of course.
And actually it's good for me.
It's so important. Maybe it is your time, your allocated time to think and live and breathe him.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you do every day.
I do. Yeah, I really do.
You must feel him within.
I mean, Ange always knows if I haven't shaved, and so this is not good. It's not a good look for me at the moment, because she knows that I'm not able to look at myself in the mirror.
Because you see him.
Yeah. And when you think that's, that's what, 30 something years on, and I still can't look at myself in the mirror because I still see him. But then she's such an extraordinary lady. She will come up and say, would you like me to shave you?
Really?
But even that I find quite heartbreaking, because I used to shave John in hospital, and shaving your identical twin is something I'd never recommend.
Do you feel like you have in terms of other people who I guess are trying to support people with grief or anything along those lines, do you feel that you've had the support that you needed? Were you able to ask for it at quite a young age? Or did you kind of just get on with it?
Just get on with it, really. I mean, my mother was amazing.
Yeah.
I'd lost my father the year before, so it was my mother there with me. It was the two of us.
Oh.
And I had a childhood nanny there she was looking after me while John was ill.
Yeah.
While my mother was still working as a doctor, which seems extraordinary now. But we had this wonderful nanny growing up called Molly Wrigglesworth.
Great name.
So Molly Wrigglesworth was still making apple pies, even the day John died, and so she was there. But her way really was, she was so traumatized by the child she'd looked after as a nanny since birth. In fact, she was witness to our birth.
Wow.
So Molly Wrigglesworth just sort of fussed about in the kitchen making pies, and that was her way of dealing with it. My mother was trying to still work, but had the horrendous effect of this cover-up, which really took a lot out of her. It was just as an amazing doctor being bullied by the General Medical Council, who is there to look after you, was extraordinary, all for the sake of covering up a mistake that should never have been made. And that mistake now cannot be made, because it took 2 people to die afterwards, because the coroner didn't do anything about the ability to make the mistake. It happened again. That's and awful. He could have stopped that, and then it happened again, but the doctor also committed suicide, so they lost the doctor. So the doctor who killed the next person committed suicide.
And that's when they took action.
Then they took action. So you can't actually, be very difficult to make the mistake now. You have to get it second checked when you do it, because it's such an appalling thing to do. So now you get it second checked before you do the injection. So it would be very hard to do it now. So my mother was treated very badly, but she was extraordinary for me, and she remained my dearest confidant and friend until she died at the beginning of COVID.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I was with her the night before she died, and she sat there and she was talking to me, and she said, I am going to miss you the most.
Oh.
And I said, I know, Mum, that's the same. She said, I know it seems silly because I won't be here, but I will miss you immensely. We've done so much together, and we've shared everything, haven't we? And sharing Johnny's death. Well,
then you'll miss her. I mean, you must miss her.
Oh, I miss her terribly, yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And throughout that period after all of this, you said that that's kind of when the photography started.
Yeah.
So that just kind of come to you quite naturally as like a bit of a rush of energy.
I'd love to say it came naturally. I don't quite know how I did it, to be honest. I mean, I did it through fear.
Yeah.
Because I was untrained as a photographer. I was trained really as a graphic designer, but not a very good one. Hence why I was being an illustrator. So I felt like this successful con man illustrator,
right,
who had a hobby of photography and couldn't do it forever. So I just, as I said, I changed overnight, said I was a photographer, and I took my portfolio out. Ironically, the boy who did the spokes and the wheels things, he said, "Oh, go and see my best mate. He's interiors editor at World of Interiors. He'll show him your photos. I'm sure he'll like them." So I took them in, and he was so rude to me.
Really?
He was so rude.
I'm surprised I didn't put you off.
Well, it came so close, because I had 2 interviews that day, and one was with him, and he basically took the piss out of my shoes the whole time I was in with my portfolio, and I was thinking, please just look at my portfolio.
Not my shoes.
I know you're an interiors editor and blah de blah, but stop taking the piss out of my shoes and look at my photos. And anyway, he didn't. So I nearly cancelled the second interview. And I thought, this is stupid. I'm fine as an illustrator.
Yeah.
But luckily it was John Brown Publishing, and it was when they were based over in Fulham, and they were in this lovely building called, I think it was called Riverside House or something, and they published one of my favourite magazines at the time, which was Gardens Illustrated. Mm-hmm. And Gardens Illustrated then was by far the most beautiful gardens magazine probably in the world. It was stunning. It used different photographers. It had things on Derek Jarman's garden, with Howard Suley and people like that. And these were heroes to me, filmmakers and, artists. And so I thought I'd go and see them, because I had a few sort of flower pictures in my portfolio.
Yeah.
I had people, flower pictures, a few interiors.
A bit of everything.
Bit of everything, really, because I didn't know you had to be either a food photographer or a portrait photographer. So it had a bit of everything. And I took it in, and there was an amazing art director there, and she said, these flowers are lovely. She said, and I love the fact that you do all these things. It was a Friday. She said, we've just rejected a picture that came in just now for the cover for next week. And it has to go off on Tuesday, and we're going to I can't recommission it now, so I'm going to recommission it on Monday to shoot for Tuesday. And it's a picture of some anemones.
Okay.
So lovely anemones.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Purple and reds and stuff. And she said, I want it to look like Derek Jarman's book of Dungeness.
Okay.
One of my favourite books at the time. So I was like, okay. And she said, but anemones are about to go out of season, just to warn you. But if you take that photo over the weekend, I won't recommission it on Monday. I mean, I could not believe it. I was like, oh my God.
Gotta get my skates on.
Got my Hasselblad out, bought loads and loads of film, went round to every single flower place in Chelsea and Fulham and bought every anemone I could find.
Yeah.
And filled my room full of anemones. But then there was this whole thing. She wanted them photographed as if they were in Dungeness. And I thought, well, I'll just take them all on the train to Dungeness and shoot them. But the whole weekend, the weather was atrocious.
Oh, no.
So what I did was I got a piece of watercolour paper and I just painted Dungeness.
Great.
But out of focus, like...
Yeah. A blurred background.
A blurred background.
Great.
So it was basically the horizon of Dungeness. So it was a sort of grey, bluey, greeny thing.
Yeah.
I just put them in. Anyway, I shot 60 rolls of film.
Oh my God.
Of different, like 5 of them, 3 of them, 2 of them, 1 of them,
Yeah.
And just no confidence whatsoever in this at all. And I was taking them down to the lab, getting them processed, bringing them back, Anyway, this whole, a huge bag of film. So I took it in on the Monday morning at about 9 a.m. and the door was locked at John Brown Publishing. So I thought, oh, what do I do? And then I thought, I can't stay. So I just tied the bag to the door.
And left it there.
And then hid to make sure that it went in. So
right.
I hid behind a bush.
So nervous getting rejected.
Yeah. And I saw the art director turn up, and she was married to John Brown, who owned the pub, and I saw them both turn up, and they were picking this bag up and they were looking in it. She was obviously looking in it. She obviously realised it was the anemones and disappeared inside. So I just went home.
Oh my God. Panic.
And at 5 o'clock I thought, well, I haven't heard anything. So I phoned up and I said, oh, I just wanted to make sure you got the bag of film. She said, oh, of course, yeah. She said, you got the film. She said, yeah, absolutely, yeah, it's the next cover. So,
and just like that?
That was my first...
Big break.
...commission.
Okay.
And she said, by the way, we need a flowering tree peony for next month. Will you do that? It's like,
yes.
Will I? Of course I will. So, and anyway, it won issue won International Magazine of the Year.
Wow.
So that got me then known. So it was Gardens Illustrated.
Well, I guess we have to talk about your relationship with Jamie and how you guys met and how that's kind of shaped your career.
Yeah, I mean it was quite amazing. I wasn't aware of him at all, and actually the initial meeting was really annoying because he he behaved so badly, and he was very sweet, but behaved so badly. He just apparently filmed The Naked Chef.
Okay.
The new book wasn't out, so the first book wasn't out yet. So he was still working at the River Cafe, and the Saturday Times magazine was probably the best of those, Saturday supplements at the time. And they just asked me to shoot the whole issue, so it was like a summertime issue, like a bumper issue, and so I did they wanted to play on this thing of I shot everything. So I did the portraits, I did the the interiors and everything. We did a big picnic feature, and at the last minute they said, actually, we want to do a really nice picture, because I was living on a houseboat in Chelsea. We want to do an article on you on the houseboat, and we're going to put that on the cover as Summer in the City. And I thought, oh, this is amazing,
So
everyone's
cool.
going to see it, my career will do. And then 2 days before it was going off, they said, actually, there's this hot young chef guy called Naked Chef. Can you go and shoot him on a rooftop in the city, where he's going to cook a barbecue for his mates, about 4 or 5 mates, and we think that's going to go on the cover. So there was a bit of me going, damn.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, so I loaded up my camera with film, and again I was on my old Hasselblad with rolls of film.
Yeah.
I headed off to this location, and it was a lovely city rooftop, and the publishers had arranged it, but there was no one there. And I was supposed to be doing the shoot at 2:00, 6:00.
No one turned up.
Literally
Jamie, that's
no
not
one
good.
there. Anyway, it turns out Jamie was doing a shift at the River Cafe, and he couldn't leave, so he did the lunch shift. And then by the time he got there, he picked up some food on the way. He was on his Vespa. He got there, so he turned up, and he's like, "Where's the barbecue?" I said, "I don't know anything about it." It's just like, so he ran down to a skip downstairs and built a barbecue.
No way.
Out of a skip.
God, good on him.
So it was just a mess in this posh city apartment.
Yeah.
But it was just bits of crap everywhere, and I think he rested this sort of grill on the top of a car tire. I mean, it was that bad. It was so awful. And I said, "You're supposed to be having some friends sitting around." He says, "Oh, I've invited some friends." And I'm like,
Where are they?
my film it's daylight film, and it's getting darker and darker, and it's all going very blue.
Yeah.
And I said, "Where are they?" 28 friends arrived,
No.
all hammered.
No, 5 to 28 is quite a big jump.
Unbelievable. So there's this massive party on the rooftop. The owner's going nuts. The Times phoning up saying, "How's it going? Is everything all right? Have you got the portrait of the cover?" I said, "I've got no idea. He's gone wild. He's gone feral. He's cooking all this amazing food, but I don't know." And I'm running around with my camera. He won't stay still. He literally will not stay still. Anyway, I got the film processed and sent in the following day. And Jamie phoned up the Times magazine and said, I don't know what happened yesterday, but I barely saw the photographer. He was running around, but I hope it was all right. And they said, "Oh, no, it's the cover, and it's really nice." And the thing is, the cover came out, and he loved it because it's blue.
Oh.
The whole thing is blue because it's completely
The
the wrong
light.
film. Yeah, so it's very, very blue. But it looked nice, and it was his first magazine cover.
Really?
So it was just before the Naked Chef book came out, so I think it was his first cover as well.
Wow. I know the one.
Yeah, and
That's
it was,
so cool.
And it was really sweet. And he sent one of the sweetest messages. You so rarely get a message.
Yeah.
It was on my home aunt's phone. On a tape, and it just went, "Hi, it's Jamie Oliver here. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy."
Really?
And he did it for about 15 minutes. He used up the whole tape.
Wow.
It's very Jamie.
And since then, you've obviously just established from what I've gathered from both of you, and what I've seen from you, is you have this very calm and warm, I don't know, presence that makes someone else feel very relaxed, and this kind of...
I hope so.
Well, I think so, and it definitely instills a very natural environment, and your photos seem to really encapsulate that. They seem quite fuss-free and natural and
Yes.
relaxed, and I feel that his cooking style is also very like that.
Yes.
Do you think there was a bonding over kind of how you were as people?
I think so. I mean, obviously he was younger than me.
Yeah.
A lot more frenetic.
Yeah.
He's very unageist.
Okay.
Which is, again,
Great.
quite rare. So
Yeah.
it's a bit like you and
Me and Janie.
Yeah, Janie. So he's very unageist. So, his best friends are people like Gennaro, who have been very loyal to him all his life. So, and he hangs around with chaps who are much, much younger as well. So that's always been great. He's got incredible energy. Obviously, as I said, he's had ups and downs, and he's become more mature. Traveling with him is a nightmare because he just doesn't stay still. And I once fell asleep on a flight to LA with him, and I fell asleep for about 3 hours, and he had an amazing idea for a campaign to feed the children. It was called Feed Children in the Future. It was called Feed Me Better, so FMB. And he could have asked the stewardess for some notepaper and a pen, but no, he had an indelible ink pen, and I was wearing a new pair of jeans.
And he wrote on
So
you.
when I woke up, my jeans were literally covered in illustrations of chickens and typography and FMB, feed me better, all over. I mean, he's a nightmare travelling companion.
But a fun friend.
But he is a fun friend, and he's an amazing, inspiring cook.
Well,
I've seen very few that are nearly as good. And we've just finished our 26th book together.
Wow.
Just started our 27th, so we're doing 2 books this year. And he tries to rein himself in, which it frustrates him because he is trying to be really healthy.
Yeah.
He's trying to be very,
economical,
cost effective, and all those sort of things.
There's so many pressures now.
And of course, it's sometimes you just want to blow out and you want to smash out, but also he doesn't want to be criticised. He wants everyone to like him and to like his food.
Yeah.
And I think he feels, under a certain amount of pressure, and the books do really well still. So
I'm not surprised.
There's currently one at number 1, and there's one at, I think, number 9. So, the books are still doing really well. So they're good for him. They're good for the company. They're good for his message. So we love doing them. But he's probably the only chef at that level that does his own food. So he doesn't. It's not food stylist. It's not
good writing.
No, it's a very sweet process to watch because he cooks in front of me. So I'll shoot reportage and I might shoot a portrait stuff, but he is cooking essentially to show me, and then he has an editor trying to write down and follow his
recipe,
rapid
what's going
brain, and but he's constantly experimenting, and sometimes I'll watch him and he's literally doing this thing, and I can see the cogs working.
Yeah.
But then he'll plate it up. So he'll cook, he'll plate, he'll taste, he'll plate, he'll cook his plate. And it carries on. And he may plate it up 10 times.
And you're just capturing that process. Wow.
Yeah, so 10 times, and he'll choose the one he likes the best. Or often he'll know which one he likes the best. But there's no other chef that does that. None. It's quite often a food stylist.
Yeah.
A lot of chefs never even turn up.
True. It's true. Or often they have someone else cooking the recipe, or someone else who's even written the recipe and is published under their name.
I started a Gordon book once, and I didn't see him. And after four or 5 days, I said, "Is he ever going to come?"
Really?
And
that's so lovely though and I feel you're very like that as well. That's what the world for me is all about. It's about community and really getting stuck in this kind of fuss-free environment. And now seeing all of his books, I'm sure you have many achievements that you're proud of, or at least should be. But do you now feel really proud to have been a huge part, so integral in that journey, like the other half, really? It's amazing what you guys have done.
Yeah, I do.
It's amazing. It is. Like, honestly,
I
feel...
It's very kind, but no one tells me that.
Of course, yeah, but they never... I know, that's the thing in life, I think.
I mean, it's lovely hearing it from you, I promise you.
Well, it is. It's amazing.
Because often you think... last week I was sitting there thinking I am literally just a cog in the wheel.
Ugh, it's nonsense. However, I think that keeps you humble, so it's never a bad thing.
So I don't know. There are certain things I do feel proud of.
Yeah.
Or certain books or certain things I've done.
Is there one specific kind of thing or one achievement that you were like, I was really chuffed with that?
In Jamie world or
in your world?
In my world, funny enough, it's probably writing Diary of a Lone Twin.
Yeah.
But it's oddly it's writing, not taking photos.
And that started.
I mean, I have terrible imposter syndrome, so I still feel I'm currently writing a book called 360, which is where I've had to choose 360 photos from my career, because next year will be my 30th year, and apparently I'm now the most published photographer in the world.
Wow,
So I thought
that's huge.
So I thought I'd show the photos that people don't see,
Yeah.
or actually photos that I think are crap that I learnt something from, or things like that, or the odd photo that I actually think I've done an okay job.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd do that. So I put together the photos, and that was actually fine. That wasn't too bad. But actually, when I started writing about the photos, it was very tempting to say, this is a crap photo and this is how it could be better.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's so good. I think it's so refreshing to hear someone of your standard, like I've just said to you, wow, I'm in awe, you've done so well. No one, and for you to not know that, it's really refreshing that you have a sense of imposter syndrome. And for people to know that too, is you have to fake it till you make it a bit.
Yeah.
As long as you have a gut feeling that you're doing the right thing in life.
I think it's important. It's important in life, isn't it, always to try and strive to be better
every day, yeah.
And whether it's to be nicer. And it's funny, it brings me back to
more.
that conversation we had the beginning with the person I admire.
Yeah.
So, and I was thinking about it afterwards, because whether he's striving to be better and better at what he does, I don't know. But his filmmaker is making better and better films all the time.
Yeah.
They're stunning. They're so beautiful. I do tell him on his Instagram.
Yeah.
And he's a beautiful filmmaker, and I look at it with awe. And he films his family as if they're little mini epics. I mean, it's charming and touching and all that. So I tell him, the guy who's the presenter side of it, I don't know whether he is he trying to be better from that moment,
that
interaction, how easy would it have been just to be nice?
Say a smile and thank you very much.
Charming.
I know.
Even just say, I'm sorry, I'm busy at the moment.
Yeah.
Something.
No, I couldn't agree more.
It's the mind boggles. I just can't compute that someone can be so mean.
But then what you have to remember is that's on him and that's not on you. And I think a lesson to everyone is that it does take, like, life is about a community, and you've got to be.
I think sometimes you've got a wiser head than I have, though.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't think so. Definitely not. On a side note, I have got you. This is very small, but I did hear that these were one of John's favourite things. So I got you some baked beans.
Bless your cotton socks.
Well, you got me 2 presents too, so I'm really excited to read your book
sweet.
and your cookbook.
When we launched Diary of a Lone Twin, we served baked beans.
Really?
At Carousel.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There's an extra tip.
It was really sweet, little tins of beans.
I love baked beans. I think they're great.
He would. John loved them so much. He was once at the Lord Mayor's banquet.
Yeah.
And he was. Like many people who taught as a young age, you treat everyone the same. So whether it's the flunky who's holding a umbrella over you, or the waiter, or
my dad's always said that.
And John was speaking to one of the waiters at the Lord Mayor's banquet, and the Queen was there, and I couldn't go for some reason, and Johnny was there, and the waiter came up and said, "Oh, you haven't eaten your so and so," and he said, "You know what? It's because normally at home I have a tin of baked beans." And I just like to pour cold baked beans on. Anyway, 10 minutes later, a little tin of beans came on a silver platter.
No way.
And they just spooned on some cold baked beans. And
love that.
He just got a wink from the waiter or the waitress.
I mean, being kind costs nothing, and it can get you so many miles ahead.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, he would be incredibly proud, and as you should be as well.
Oh, thank you.
No, he would be, very much so.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to finish with a couple of quick questions.
Yes.
Can I? What is your desert island dish? You've probably answered this question 100 times before.
It's difficult, isn't it? Desert island dish versus...
Well, just maybe what's like something you really love?
Yeah.
Mine's
I have a
bowl.
death row dish.
Okay.
Because obviously I'll never be on death row.
Obviously.
Because I'll never do something bad like that.
Yeah.
But because I'm celiac, I would have sourdough.
Okay,
I miss sourdough so much.
I'm sure you do. Worth a tummy ache as well. So you're about to be a goner.
I adore scrambled eggs with good olive oil and shaved truffles.
Delicious.
Shaved truffles and scrambled eggs. There's something about the heat, the butter, the oil, it just all... So that, and for some reason, for some reason, papaya with squeezed lime. So fresh papaya and squeezed lime, that taste.
So good.
Yeah. Then I'd like a flan,
Right.
like a pudding flan with everything that I love in it. So figs, dates, almonds, pistachios,
Yeah.
frangipani.
You love all that dried fruit, nutty thing.
Yeah, so it's almost easier to say what I'm going to eat last because it doesn't matter if I have a celiac attack. Or...
No, yeah, that's great. Well, that sounds like a very hearty meal. And when you were younger, what did you want to be? Or maybe you weren't sure.
It was a helicopter pilot for a long time.
Yeah.
And I have flown them. Flown them quite a lot, actually, and I quite enjoyed it. But I did realise afterwards that I wouldn't make a good helicopter pilot.
Okay. Why?
Just, I think I'd like to go, I have, unfortunately, that little feeling of I'd quite like to go out with a bang.
Right, I see what you mean. Okay.
And
So
I don't
you
drive.
shouldn't be allowed to be a helicopter pilot.
Whereas being a helicopter pilot, I think I would just fly it into a wall.
Yeah, okay. I think you're better off with a camera, less damage.
For a little while, I wanted to be a politician.
Really?
People would ask me why I wanted to be a politician. And I think I was 11 or 12, and I say, because I want to ban smoking.
Okay, cool. That's a good enough reason. That's very good. I can see you as a
I'm sure my
politician.
parents thought smart ass.
Much more than a helicopter pilot, it has to be said. And what's your favourite quote or saying? Or do you have anything that you kind of say?
The family motto was always carpe diem, which always stuck, but then it became so sort of trendy as part of Dead Poets Society. But carpe diem, seize the day,
Yeah, we had that.
ad astra, those sort of things. I don't have. It's funny. I was listening to Jane Goodall's, and she had so many beautiful things to say.
Yeah.
She died yesterday, and she had so many quotes and so many beautiful things to say. Sadly, as you know, I remember the worst ones, but don't necessarily always remember the best ones.
They're probably all around you without you even realising. I find that with quotes and saying. And do you have any advice that you would give to yourself 10 years ago?
Oh, probably don't rush into things, but
Think in the process.
yeah. Think before you leap.
Yeah, I could take that one on board. And what's your proudest achievement to date? I think we've done this. Your book.
Yeah, I think writing.
Yeah.
I think so.
Quite right. It's a huge commitment.
Writing Diary of a Lone Twin. It didn't have the cathartic effect that I thought it might have.
Really?
No.
That's interesting.
I think that's part of the publishing process, because it's unedited in the fact that every sentence in it is as I wrote it.
Yeah.
So it is as it was a diary.
But that was an hour a day of writing.
Yeah,
is that right?
but because I overwrote, they had to take out stories. So there are many stories in there that weren't told, and many, particularly about my father, where an editor actually sat and said to me, people aren't going to be interested in your father.
Yeah.
They're interested in your twin. And I was like, Papa.
Oh,
of course
would you ever put them into a second book?
Well, I'm wheedling some into 360.
Cool.
Just
yeah, quite
sneakily.
Right. 100%. That's the thing. It's one thing to be very open about your diary and lifestyle, but
the other thing is I do believe in setting oneself projects which are outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And that was a project that was outside my comfort zone. And I think those do help make, as long as you're not too critical with yourself if you don't achieve it, which can happen.
Yeah.
I set myself a task to write a screenplay a couple of years ago, and it didn't get far at all. And it was my lack of, I think it was more than anything, my lack of knowledge, but also probably doing it too soon after writing Diary of a Lone Twin.
Yeah.
But I think I do think pushing one's boundaries. I mean, life is very short.
That's such good advice. I know it's true. You never know when it's going to end as well.
No.
And I'm guessing I can guess the answer to this one, but do you have a role model, and who would it have been, or who is it, and why?
A role model.
Or someone that you aspire to be like? Or perhaps no one.
I don't have do I have a role model? I don't know. I was sitting with Charlie Mackesy the other day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah, and he would be a great role model. I love the fact that one day he could streak across a cricket pitch with complete abandon, but then hide for weeks, then write the best-selling book
It's amazing.
of all time. And he's this wonderful mixture of kindness and frailty and I mean, he's so lacking in confidence about what he does and himself, and yet, you know,
Makes him
everyone,
human.
yeah, he's admired by everyone.
Yeah.
And he touches so many corners of the world. And I love that. It's a bit like Jane Goodall. I mean, she probably never thought I'm having the
conversation about her.
yeah. And yet, you know, the wisdom, the things she said, the kindness,
I know.
extraordinary.
It's so true.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you know, to have that kind of legacy, really, you know, at 91.
Yes, I know she did really well.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds as though you might be striving in the same direction. So, and David, that's a wrap. That's everything. Thank you so much for coming and for my lovely gifts. I'm so excited.
Thank you for my beans.
Oh, anytime. Beans on toast. I mean, you can't go too wrong, can you?
I know.
It's great.